안녕하세요, 여러분. 매일 축구 소식을 전해드리는 매일사커입니다. 벌써 12주째 경기들이 끝이 났습니다. 오늘 리버풀이 브랜포드를 3대0으로 승리하면서 리그 2위로 올라섰는데요. 그로 인해 토트넘은 4위로 자리를 잡았습니다. 다행히 맨시티가 첼시와 4대4로 비기며 승점 1점만 가져가게 됐는데요. 토트넘에겐 나쁘지 않은 상황인 것 같습니다. 토트넘이 울브스에게 패하고 안주 감독에 대한 의견이 엇갈리는 가운데 그의 전술에 대한 분석을 하는 스카이스포츠 사커 썬데이입니다. 그럼 바로 함께 보실까요?
Dean, that high press that we've talked so much about wasn't there to the same extent yesterday at all. And Postecoglou was so insistent in the week that he would stick to it no matter what the situation in the game. What was the difference?
I mean, we can see obviously with the most used players this season and a pretty settled starting 11 actually. The two centre-backs are quite exposed, you would say. If they were to be 1v1, the full-back's nice and high. And the forward players and especially the left-sided midfield player very, very, very high. I mean, that'll be generally Maddison goes into that position alongside Son as much as he can. And you can see why that would work when they can press high, win the ball. They are the top team in terms of winning the ball back in the final third per match. And it's because of that change that he's made. It's been refreshing, it's been exciting, and it wasn't there yesterday. Yeah. And because of the personnel change, it was very easy to see the difference.
Eric Dyer looked quite uncomfortable in a way, being asked to play the high line. He hasn't obviously got the pace that all of the Tottenham players have got. Is he a problem? Will Postecoglou look to his other options?
I think he's a very different player. You know, the stats there, you know, can just show the difference against Wolves. And I think you've got a player in Eric Dyer, lots of experience, and Ben Davies, of course, but very different in the profile compared to Van der Ven and Romero, who have got that, especially Van der Ven, so quick, great 1v1, Romero, aggressive 1v1, and that's been the difference. And we don't know, without speaking to Ange Postecoglou, whether he wanted exactly the same. But Gareth, when you've got defenders, especially someone like a Dyer, and I can understand if he thinks, well, I don't want to be exposed. I don't want the people who can't wait for me to be exposed 1v1 to you know, criticise me. I don't want to be left in that position. So is it natural that a defender does that?
I think there's two things for me. I think Dyer coming in with Van der Ven, he actually takes the role on because Dyer has played with him and they've played really well. But Dyer's gone, I can push higher because I've got Van der Ven. He had nobody yesterday, Dyer, so he's dropped a little bit deeper to protect himself. But I also think Maddison not being in the team and Højbjerg coming in that position, you're swapping somebody who's on the ball, getting forward, keeps hold of the ball so you can allow your players to squeeze up, to Højbjerg, who more is a defensive destroyer midfielder who can pass from deep. So there's a big change there as well for me, you know. So I think that you do feel it on the pitch. You know, when Maddison's got it, people used to say to me, and probably you, Clinton, we were both runners with the ball. Yeah. When you run with the ball, when you dribble the ball, the defence love that because you can get up, they can squeeze up the pitch. If the ball's turning over constantly quickly, you can't get that squeeze on. And I think yesterday, Maddison was as big as Van der Ven not being in the team.
We have got another graphic to show you that illustrates the lack of threat that Tottenham had yesterday against Wolves. Here we go. That's quite a change from...
Yeah, but it's always going to be like that, Nick. You're missing James Maddison, as Dino and Gareth just alluded to there. He's been one of the signings of the season. He makes things happen, gets into pockets. You can see Son is playing as that central figure. He enjoys playing with him because what he does is Maddison gets the ball, he'll get on his back. Obviously, he had Brendan Johnson who scored. It was good for him. And they had Kulusevski. He's been outstanding on that right-hand side. But sometimes it's been Richarlison there. But they miss Maddison. He's the key. They miss Maddison. But they are going to miss the two centre-backs as well, Romero and Van der Ven. That is why they play a high line, because those two are quick enough. Because you see in Doggy and Poro, they're up front. They're playing like right wingers. So that's how he'll play. And he said it, see in his interview after Chelsea, I'm not going to change even if I have 5 players on the pitch. I'm still going to play a high line. So if you're a player at Tottenham, you have to adapt to that. But I do believe They are struggling there with Maddison. The one thing they do have is Bentancur, who's a good player, who's coming back to fitness. Could he maybe go to that position? But then I think Basuma picks up a booking yesterday. So now he's suspended for the next game. So they've got a lot of... This is where Tottenham will be tested.
This is where football's so good, isn't it?
Look, it's not... If you're Dyer and David, that is not easy.
Exactly.
It's not easy to accept that you're going to have to put yourself in a very vulnerable position time and time again. That is... I think that is difficult for a player that,
used to it.
when you know your strength isn't that, to want to do that. Now, is that because, the recruitment side of it needed to do even more to make sure if there was injuries, it maybe wasn't Eric Dyer that's the player that comes in, or if he does, you need to adapt the way you're going to play.
I've got massive empathy for Postecoglou, because when you cannot pick your best players or the team that you've worked with, it changes, and that's the beauty of football. When the best players are missing, when they're suspended, when they're injured, and you cannot play the same. It's impossible. You've got different players in now. So he'll want to play the same style, but there might be a few slight tweaks to it. Listen, it's one game. Let's not chuck the baby out with the bathwater.
And you got Romero coming back in 2 games, and then Doggie's back next game.
And Eddie Howe's got the same problem. You haven't got quite the squad depth that everybody else has. That's why Manchester City always win the league.
Trippier will tell you all about that.
They've got the.
I'm sure we'll talk about that later on, Nick.
We will.